turns. So I'll give you an overview of chapter 2. Okay. So basically, if you see, there are two kinds of people. One are wise, spelling W-I-S-E, wise people, and the others are otherwise. So either you are wise or you are otherwise. Now we will see what does that mean. So if you read the verse 2.7, does anyone remember it? Can you recite it without looking into the book? Any words? You want to try? Okay. Looking into the book, would you like to recite the verse
Hmm.
fluently? Would you
Yep.
try that? Who would like to go?
Uh,
Would you like to go, Kalpesh?
I can.
Okay.
Who is Kshitij or Rishi want to try? Or
Now go for it if you want to. It's okay.
I'll try. Okay.
Good. Yeah, go for it.
कार्पण्य दोषोपहत स्वभाव पश्यामि त्वं धर्म समुदाचेतः यश्श्रेयः स्यान् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्ते हम साधि मम त्वं प्रपन्नम्.
कार्पण्य दोषोपहत स्वभाव पृच्छामि त्वाम धर्म सम्मूढ़ चेता यच श्रेयस्याम निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेहाम शाधिमाम त्वाम प्रपन्नम. So karpanya we have discussed already. It's the opposite of Brahman. So either you are Brahman or you are Kripan. Kripan or Brahman. So a wise person
Hare
is
Krishna, sir.
Hare Krishna. So a wise person is a Brahman and Kripan is otherwise. Okay? This is how you understand. Yes, Kalpesh.
So does that mean that uh, other varnas like Shudra, Vaishya, and
We'll
Kshatriya
come to
are
that.
otherwise?
That is the question of Arjun hidden in this verse. You have to find out. So Arjun says in this verse, what is this verse about? What is Arjun trying to say? You can read the translation to understand what it is. What is Arjun trying to say in this verse?
Arjun is actually is saying that he has lost his composure because he has got attracted to to weaknesses such as family,
He's,
friends.
he's saying that in this verse.
That's miserly weakness, right?
Hmm. Okay. Anyone would like to clarify?
Basically, I think he's saying, I don't know what to do, so guide me.
Exactly. He
He's
doesn't
confused.
know. He's confused. He doesn't know. What am I meant to do? This is what is he asking. So if you read this verse carefully, there is a word. Prachami tvam dharma samhuda cheta. Prachami. Prachami means what? It's a sandhi vichhed. So it's prashnami. So if you read it, it is my question. Prachami. I ask. It's my question. Dharma. My question is, what is dharma?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's asking. So a person like Arjun is asking what is dharma. And we say that we know what is dharma. Yeah. It's not that simple as it sounds. So first we have to understand what is the question of Arjun. He's asking on our behalf. That is the reason we say that we should understand Bhagavad Gita as Arjun does, because he's representing us. He's asking Krishna, what is dharma? Prichami tvam dharma. I'm asking you, what is dharma? Dharma samhuda cheta. Because I don't know, the reason is because I'm bewildered. Samhuda means he's bewildered, he's confused. Sammuda cheta, and he's confused from his heart. Cheta. Okay, from his heart he's confused. That means he's deeply confused. Now why is he confused? So now if you see dharma, when we keep it a very basic meaning, what is the right thing to do? We think, what is the right thing to do? So when we have our job, you have studies, you have job, you have family, okay, as a family you have to work, towards the um, security of your family. Job, you have to work so that you perform well and progress well in your job. Yeah. Then you have your studies. If you're studying, you have to perform well and get some scores. So you know that path. So you're walking on a road, for example, and you know that yes, I have to walk on that path. Confusion comes when you reach an intersection. If the road is clear, if it is straight, then there is no problem. But when there is an intersection, that's where the confusion is, whether to take right or to take left. Correct? Now, what is happening with what should I do? Now, whether I should go this way or this way. What is the answer? How do you get this answer? This answer depends on your identification. This is a little deeper, so please focus. Understand why am I saying this? And why is Krishna answering him like that? To choose what to do depends on your identity. If it is making sense to you, can you explain me what does this mean?
It means like what I understood is that if we are at some intersection which we what if we don't know, but obviously we still see some choices. We have some ideas, so we choose
No, you have a
idea.
choice. You know either to go right or to go
Yeah,
left. But how do you choose? What do you choose between these two choices? It depends on your identity.
that's your nature.
No, no. This. Did you understand this statement? It depends on your identity. I will explain how. I will give you a very simple example. So, say for example, there is a judge in the court. Okay. Now he is supposed to do his duty as a judge and find out the evidence for the accused and convict him or free him, depending on the evidence and the supportive arguments, whatever. Now, for instance, his own son, the judge's own son, comes to the court as accused. And he sees him. So, as a judge, based on the evidence, he should accuse him. But as a father, his job is to protect him. So, if he identifies himself as a judge, he will be able to choose that path and convict him. But if he chooses his identification as a father, he may not be able to do that. Of course, there may be a conflict of interest, but imagine that there is no one around here. He is the only judge who's supposed to do his work. So his decision will be based on his identification. This is how you can understand. Yes, Randhir.
Okay. Prabhuji, that is his identification. But sir, what happens if someone being on the side of right or wrong is a subjective thing? What if someone believes that they are right, even though, I mean, it's two sides of the coin. A person who we consider to be wrong, he may consider himself to be right. He may be justified. He might be able to justifying to himself that I am that he's right from his point of view. So what do we do in that situation?
Did anyone understand the question? Can you explain the question
A,
again, Randhir?
a person who we consider a bad man, right, or someone who is immoral. What if that is a what if he believes that he is right from his perspective?
Okay. How is it related to our discussion?
Well, sir, uh, when we are talking about confusion out here, 2.7, when you're talking about dharma being bewildered and a person in his heart, how is it that
We
that
have
other
we have
person?
we have not talked about dharma at all at the moment.
Okay, we're going into.
Okay. What is your question, Randhir? Again, based on
I'm
what we have
simply
discussed.
asking. Yes, sir.
What based on what we have discussed? Based on that? What is your question? Is it based on
Okay.
that or is it something else?
No, it's probably based on that, sir.
Okay. Okay.
I'm trying to figure out is how is it that someone who's confused in someone else's perspective, he could be a bad person. At the same time, according to him, he might be doing the right thing.
No, we are not discussing that. What we are discussing is that when you are under confusion, when you don't know what to do, the only way you will be able to make a choice whether what you do is right or wrong is based on your identification. Now, how that is understood by the example I gave. So, if you look at that judge, if he identifies himself as a judge, he will be able to see the accused as accused instead of seeing him as a son. But if he identifies himself as a father of that, as a father, then he will not be able to accuse his son, even if there are evidences against him. Does it make sense? It's very simple. Just take it as
Okay.
simple as it is. Yeah.
All right.
Do you understand this? So
Yeah.
identification will clarify his decision, the judge's decision. Correct?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So Arjun, from chapter 1, if you see, he is on that intersection. What he's thinking of two things. He's thinking of one, that is the Kula Dharma, and the second, he's thinking about the Kshatriya Dharma. So, as a Kula Dharma, what is he saying? That how can I destroy my own relatives? Because it is my own dynasty. How can I kill everyone? Kshatriya Dharma tells him that I should fight. I must fight. I should punish the wrongdoers because there is something which we feel is wrong. That's why there is a fight. So Duryodhan has not agreed to any of the peace, and there is a fight, peace proposals, and there is a fight. So we have to fight this war. As a Kshatriya, I have to fight this war. So he doesn't know which dharma to perform. On the other hand, he thinks that if I don't fight, then my side will get weak and they will be suffering. You understand his dilemma? So he doesn't know which side to take. He's on that intersection. So when we talk about this identification is not the question from Arjun itself. It is a universal question. If you look at it carefully, everyone is in that dilemma. So I'll give you some other kind of understanding on this. So therefore, Krishna, if you see, he directly hits the nail of Arjun's questions and he tells him about his identification. That who is he? Rather than answering him all the other kind of uh, questions or other kind of comments. He directly tells him about his identification. So he tries to clarify the identification of Arjuna. So if you look at it, we have various identities. Someone is a father, someone is a mother, someone is a Hindu, someone is a Muslim, Christian, Sikh, professor, yeah, psychiatrist, doctor, sports person. These are all the identities, various identities, but they are based on some acts that you do. Now, if you see a person who's wearing a topi and he's got white topi and he's grown a beard without a mustache and going to the temple and praying to Lord Ram, you'll say that how a Muslim is doing this act, right? That'll be something vague, isn't it? Yes, someone is identified by his dress up as a Muslim, yeah, but he's doing something. That will be something which will not be logical, isn't it? He's identified as a Muslim by his get up. How will you identify someone as he's that religion or he's that caste or whatever? By his outlook, right? His external features, correct? How will you identify a professor? He's a professor when he starts teaching, by his act, external, right? Yes, correct. We had a person I had met some time back. He was from Canada, and he was here, and he had changed his gender 6 times. How will we identify him, the male or a female? You know, okay, someone has changed his gender from male to female. Okay, we identify this male, but 6 times he has changed. And I'm not saying he may be there will be many who would be doing that. Someone who was a Hindu, but due to some you know reasons, he took Islam as his religion, and he became Muslim. How will you identify him? Is he a Hindu? Yes. Are you with me so far? So these are the various identities we see. There was a person and met he went to United States on a sports visa. Okay, because he was a sports person, he was on a sports visa. Now what happened there was that he was on a sports visa, but while he was doing all his events and in sports, he injured his shoulder, and due to that, he couldn't play anymore. So now he couldn't identify himself as a sports person because he can't play anymore. Yeah. Just devastated, depressed. Now, all these identities which we have, these are all functional identities. All functional, they keep changing. All these functional identities, they keep on changing based on the acts, events we do. So Krishna is telling Arjun that underlying these all functional identities, there is a fundamental identity which does not change. And that is the crux of the question, who am I? So when we say I am a sports person, I am a Hindu, I am an Indian, we are relating this based on our function. On the functionality, we describe this as our identity. So I am that, I am. So who is this I? When you turn back, that answer for that I is fundamental identity. And that is what Krishna tells Arjun, that you are not your functional identity, but you are your fundamental identity, which is a soul. That I is nothing but an Atma, it's a soul. And that is your fundamental identity. Now, when this was explained to that sports person, that this is your fundamental identity, he actually came out of his depression, because the clarity is utmost important. Otherwise, you won't be able to decide. Once you know who you are, once he understood, he realized who is he actually. He was rating himself as a sports person. But then when he realized that no, I can be many, but the I is constant. That is my soul. That doesn't change. And now he has identified as a functional identity as something else. He's a good businessman now. So when you identify yourself with the fundamental identity, that is what Krishna telling Arjun, you will have the clear path. So the question of Arjun is very complex, but the answer from Krishna is very straight and direct and very simple. We think that Krishna is complicated. Arjun is asking a very simple question. But actually, Arjun is not able, is in a confusion state. He's in a complex state. Krishna's answer is direct. He's hitting the root of that question. So underlying all these functional identities is our fundamental identity. And the fundamental identity is nothing but the Atma, is the soul. That is to be understood very clearly. And he further tells Arjun that at the level of functional identity, there can be a lot of confusion. There can be a lot of confusion because there is a lot of belief. There's a lot of uh, you know, different various understandings based on your functions, and you feel that is right. You with me so far, everyone? Any questions or comments so far between functional and fundamental identity?
So that example that you started with, Prabhuji,
Hmm.
that somebody is standing on a road and there's a left and right,
Hmm.
and which turn he takes is decided by his identity.
Hmm.
Um, so I thought it was also determined by his goal, like we discussed in the past. To what is the ultimate goal, and we should not be deviated. And most of the decisions we should take, or all the decisions we take, is with that in mind. That will it further my ultimate goal or not?
Correct.
So
Now, is that goal which you decide is based on your functional identity or your fundamental identity?
It can be either. I mean, it depends on the person, but the idea is that it should be depend on the
But
fundamental
which will
identity.
be the constant and which will be a variable?
Fundamental will be constant.
Correct.
Yes.
And what is that purpose? Or what is the fundamental, what is the purpose of our fundamental identity, which is the soul?
To
Desire.
Okay. And what is the purpose of our functional identities?
that is also desire.
No, no. It can be various, right?
Various. Yes.
It can be so many. But what is the purpose of the soul?
The ultimate path of
Okay. So we will decide that, we'll discuss about it later in Bhagavad Gita. But try to understand the difference between the functional identity and the permanent identity or the fundamental identity. So when we thrive to understand our fundamental identity, when we try to understand our own self, then we are able to manage our functional identities. But if we try to only understand our functional identities, then we get bewildered. So Albert Einstein once he said that problems cannot be solved at the same level of consciousness that created them. So if you understand that there are functional identities, you cannot solve the complex problems of the functional identity with at the same level. So Arjun's functional identities are two. He thinks that he is a Kuru Nandana, and the second one he thinks he is a Kshatriya. Now Krishna tells him that below these two functional identities, there is a fundamental identity. And this fundamental identity remains constant. And if you understand that, then you will not have problems with your function. You will be able to perform your functions.
I'm not now sure what we are discussing at all now. I've
Okay.
lost completely now.
Okay. Anyone else understands what we are discussing?
Prabhuji, these 2 points are clear, which we discuss about the fundamental identity of each jiva is basically is a soul, and absolutely that's right. No doubt anybody can challenge that. But as you are mentioning that if we always are conscious about this fundamental identity, we can easily manage or take care of all our functional identity, and the other part that is a little difficult to
Okay. I'll give you an
understand.
example. I'll give you an example. So there was, the 2004 tsunami. Everyone knows that. So there
Yeah.
was a person who was actually doing scuba diving at that time. He was inside the sea, about a few kilometers inside the sea, and he went for scuba diving. And that's the time when tsunami came in. It hit. So this guy was from Sri Lanka. We met him in Perth. It's a very good example one of my Shiksha gurus gave me while we were discussing that. So he was inside the sea when the tsunami hit. All he could feel was a big wave. He went a little up and he went down. He was still and is scuba diving, continuing. Okay. After an hour or so, when he finished scuba diving, He tried to come to the coast, in the boat, but there was no coast. Everything was gone. So when he saw everything was completely shattered, it was devastated. There was nothing. People, human lives are gone. There was no one. But now imagine this, that he was inside the sea and he was saved, but the people outside, they were dead. Why am I giving this example? Is that when Krishna says the same thing, that when you focus on your fundamental identity, these things will be managed. Your functional identity will be managed. You will not have problems, you will not have complex situations if you identify yourself clearly as a soul. Does it make sense, Kalpesh?
Little bit, but
Okay. Is anyone else understanding what I'm saying, or is it too deep? Or is it just not relevant, you feel?
No,
Yeah?
I think it makes sense. It's how to be conscious about this is the question.
That is different. But the reason why Krishna is answering him about what is a soul. So Arjun is asking that I'm confused what to do. But Krishna answers him that who are you? First you identify yourself. So the moment we understand who are we, then it becomes very clear in our choices. That is what Krishna is telling him. So the reason I gave you that example of a judge is because if he identifies himself as whatever he chooses, that will be the source of his decision, of his act. So if you identify yourself correctly, then there won't be any problem with your decision or understanding your dharma. So what is dharma? Dharma means what is your purpose? So Arjun is asking, what is my purpose? So Krishna tells him that if you understand your identity, you will understand your purpose. Isn't that a question which comes to us? What is my purpose? What is the life? What is the purpose of my life? Do you get this question? If you don't get this question, then I think we have to read introduction of Bhagavad Gita again thoroughly. Yeah, this question is very important, and that is the question asked by Arjun to Krishna. Do you think this question is important to be answered? I'll go around everyone.
Yes, it is very important.
Yeah, that what
The
is my
re-
dharma? What is my dharma?
the reason I look at it, Prabhuji, is in today's world, every individual is just behind his own benefits and all. They're forgetting there's no human mankind left who is ready to serve apart from a few fraction of people across the planet. But to answer
But
in
what is
once,
your dharma? What is my dharma? I
yeah,
mean, someone asks, what is my dharma? How would you answer that? Kalpesh, what is your dharma?
I'm not sure, Prabhu.
Okay. Kshitij, if someone asks you, what is your dharma?
I would say that, of course, to serve family, community, country overall, for sure.
Exactly. That
And
is what is your functional identity. That is what Krishna is telling him. So serving your community, serving your family, so you become a son, you become a father, you become a husband. This is all your functional. They keep changing. That's why it is called functional identity. And in Sanskrit, it is called aparadharma,
Mhm.
based on functions. Are you understanding this, Kalpesh?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
This is aparadharma or functional identity. So you do that. The purpose is based on some function.
Okay.
Okay. Your identity is based on a function. Because you are a son, so you are doing the dharma of a son. Because you are an engineer, you are doing the dharma of an engineer. They're all functional identities. So now again your question, Kshitij, what is your dharma?
Yeah, I was just about to answer that.
Okay.
So, apart from these functional identities, to understand or realize who exactly I am,
Hmm.
and that's one of the very important aspect, which is still in a journey, not
Right.
reached even 50%. And
Right.
on top of that, trying to connect to Lord, uh, the Supreme Lord Head,
So
as a
what
soul.
is your dharma is based on the identification. That's what Krishna says. It is based on your fundamental identification.
And what is that? How to identify that?
Hmm. That he will tell later, but understand the concept first. Is this sinking in? Is this something which is understandable or still you are confused?
For me, at least now I know that there are two types of identities.
Mhm.
One is functional and other one is unknown.
Fundamental, which is our fundamental identity, because that doesn't change. That I doesn't change. So if you see, I am, say for example, someone says I'm a doctor. That doctor can become a surgeon, right? Then he says I am a surgeon. Tomorrow he decides he wants to become an engineer. He says I am an engineer. So that functions are changing, but I does not change. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I
Yes,
remains the same.
correct. Who's that I?
That's the soul sitting in the heart.
That is what Krishna says, that you are that soul. Identifying is very simple. Realizing is difficult.
Mm.
Hmm.
Identifying is not that difficult. Identifying is understood. How difficult it is. You see that every day. Even the so-called religions, they keep changing. I've seen so many people from Kerala who are Hindus, now they're Christians. Yeah, very common. So I am a Hindu, I am a Christian, but I remain same, right? But what do we fight on? We always fight on the functional identities. And we consider that as our fundamental identity. That is the biggest problem. Does it make sense? We fight on the functional identities. People fight on being Hindus and Muslims. People fight on being Hindus and Sikhs. People fight on being Christians and Muslims. But they keep changing. The functions keep changing. The functional identities keep changing. Hindus becomes Muslim, Muslim becomes Christians, Christians becomes Hindus. They keep changing. Then where is the fight? You understand? So functional identities are always complex, and that is what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparshastu kaunte. These are all functional identities. These are all external. So when the tsunami hit, the person who was inside didn't have any problem, but the externals went changing. So what is inside? The I does not change, but the externals keep changing. So do not worry about the externals. An intelligent person does not worry about the external changes. Which verse is that? Aditi will tell me.
I did not hear you. I went to bring a book.
Okay, fine.
No, you
Randir
were
will
talking about dharma. So recently I had purchased a lot of books. So I got a book from the ISKCON. They gave me a free book. What is dharma? What is God? So I had gone to get that book when you were
Okay,
talking about dharma. So
okay.
what did you ask? Sorry.
So which verse
Hmm.
does Krishna tell Arjun
Hmm.
that do not worry about the external changes?
12. No.
12. Okay. Chapter 12?
No. No.
Okay.
2.12 chapter. Have we
Two,
at chapter 12?
okay. So 2.12. Is
This
it?
is. I am
Yeah.
thinking.
Is it 2.12?
Yeah, I feel it's 2.12.
Okay. Anyone else? Where Krishna says, do not worry about the externals?
I think to what 2.13.
2.13. What is 2.13?
2.13 is Dehinosmin yata dehe Kaumaram
Kaumaram.
Yovanam Jara Tatha Dehantar Praptir
Dhirastatra
Dhirastatra na muhyati.
muyati. Absolutely. Very good.
Oh, okay.
That do not worry about the changes in the external. They keep changing. Yeah. So the
Hmm.
fundamental quality or the fundamental identity remains the same. The I remains the same. And what is that I? I is nothing but the soul. Is this underst- are you understanding this, everyone? Or
Now,
if
how
you
can
have
we say that the soul never changes? It does, na. It gets so much of it, gets subtle body with it all the time. It desires for anything.
okay, so you say the I changes?
Yeah,
How?
because let me open my that diagram so it will be easier for me to contemplate what I want to say.
Hmm.
Is
Can you share your screen while
yeah,
talking? Yeah.
sure. How do I share my screen? Share. How do I share my screen?
There is a
Select
setting.
background.
There are three. See, side में होगा. I don't know about the desktop. Side में there
So
might be
there
No,
is
three.
a
three dots.
Yeah,
microphone,
three
there is a
dots.
video,
Yeah,
and then there is a share your screen.
Oh yeah. I got it. I got it. Thank you.
yeah.
So this is what I'm looking at. Can you guys see my screen?
Mm,
Yes.
So this is the soul, right? Soul has
Can you
only
make it a
one.
little bigger?
Oh, uh,
not this. Your document.
On the bottom right, you will see
Increase the
the zoom
size.
button.
Just press
Mm.
Control and plus. Yeah.
is it visible now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep,
Tell me.
now it's fine.
So soul has only one thing to do is to desire. That's that this is what we discussed some time back. But when soul travels from one body to another,
Hmm.
it carries the mind, ego, and the intelligence with it. So
Okay. So this is
obviously
the
the
understanding that soul carries the body and the mind.
hmm,
Anyone else who has understood this correctly? Who carries who?
it's called subtle body, but then it is
Aditi,
still
who
carries.
carries who? Who's
No, I
carrying who?
don't. No, I don't know. I got confused
Okay.
here.
Okay. Randhir, who carries who? Yes.
Randir.
Is Randhir there or is he gone? Okay, don't worry. Rishi, who
I think
carries whom?
the body carries the soul.
Which body
The
carries the
soul
soul?
cannot. In this
Correct.
case, the subtle body.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Subtle body carries the soul. Very good. Did you
So till you
understand that,
have karma
Kalpesh?
attached to it, yeah.
Exactly. Very good. Yes, Kalpesh. Did you understand that?
But how? But subtle body is not. But when there is a transition from one body to another, soul is the one travels right from A to B.
Who carries the soul?
Hmm.
Subtle
It
body.
travels with the subtle body.
Exactly. So the carrier is subtle body.
Subtle body. Yep.
Okay.
And the subtle body is only present until you have karma attached to it.
Mhm.
Yep.
If there are zero good or bad karma, then the subtle body also gets destroyed. So what is remaining?
Only the
Soul.
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 That's it. That is called liberation.
Liberation state.
It goes. Yeah.
Understand this? Did
Okay.
you understand this, Kalpesh?
Yeah. I thought soul travels from A to B, but soul does travel, but subtle body is a carrier. Okay.
Yes. The reason why you get another body is because there is karma. If there
Mm-hmm.
is zero good or bad karma, then you do not get a new body, neither a subtle body. The soul is liberated.
Mm-hmm.
And the kind of new body we get is decided by the karma.
Exactly.
Which is in the karma kand. Yep.
Not karma kanda, not karma kanda. It is decided by your prarabdha.
Uh-huh.
Prarabdha means your repository of karma. You know what is a repository? You know what is a repository?
Bank.
A bank.
Something like that,
Yeah.
yes. Where
Ledger,
you keep
ledger.
everything. Yeah, so it is all kept there. So once that whole repository comes to zero, neither good, neither bad, no credit, no debit, zero, that account becomes zero, then there is no subtle body.
It is unfair. We don't have visibility to the ledger.
Yes, Rishi.
I have a question. I was slightly related to this, but I was going through a video by Srila Prabhupada, and
Mhm.
he has mentioned that at the time of death, if you remember, or if God is in your mind, then
Yeah,
you will get liberated.
yes. So,
So, in
yeah.
that case, does it mean even if you have karma, all the karma will get netted off, and you like what is the what was the meaning of that?
So, yeah, the meaning is that at the time of death, it is a very traumatic position. It is not that simple, you get death. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma involved. At that time, thinking about Krishna or thinking about God is only possible if your mind has been trained to do that throughout your life.
Hmm.
Otherwise, your mind will be only focused on the pain of the body, the fear of death, a lot of other things, fear of losing everything. To be focused on the Lord will be very difficult. So, if the mind has been practiced throughout your life so that it focuses on the Lord, then your mind is attached to Krishna. Your mind is thinking about Krishna. Mind is
Hmm.
thinking about the Lord. And because the mind carries the soul at the time of death, yeah, it carries you to Krishna.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
What is
Yep.
mind? Sorry to go back to that same question again and again.
Okay. Anyone explain, Kalpesh, what is mind? Randhir, what is mind? Aditi, what is mind?
I don't know.
Okay.
As in, won't be able to
Rishi.
explain.
Rishi, what
So,
is mind?
In that diagram that we've discussed, or the chariot analogy, so mind is the
Yes.
reins,
Yes.
which is held by the intelligence, and it controls and mind controls the senses.
Very nice. Do you understand? Did you understand that, Kalpesh?
But what is mind? Mind is not actually rains, right?
It is reins.
It is rains, yeah. But yeah, okay, from your diagram, it makes sense to say mind is the combination of ego,
No,
intelligence.
that is subtle body. Wrong definition, Shitej. Subtle body is the combination of mind, intelligence, and ego.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you guys are not reading. You're not reading introduction. Until you read Bhagavad.
So, no, Prabhuji, as per this diagram, thanks for sharing, Kalpesh, again. These three parts are subtle body, which is
I think
ego,
Prabhuji is not able to
intelligence.
listen. He's gone to fix his headset, I think.
Okay.
Subtle body made out of mind, ego, and intelligence.
Yeah, this is where we start. And if we consider the chariot analogy, which Rishi rightly said, the reins
Hmm.
are the mind which control the senses.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Prabhuji,
Can you hear me?
yeah, yeah. So, just going to this diagram, I was saying that these three parts which make subtle body, mind is a part, one of the part of the subtle body. But the
Correct.
chariot analogy is the right thing, which Rishi said. The reins are the ones which are actual mind, which control our senses.
Yeah, but can someone explain, Kalpesh, what is mind?
मेरे को लगा मैं अकेला ही ढब्बू है यहाँ पे.
No, no, it's a good question. It's a very good question, Kalpesh.
Sorry guys, I'm just joking.
See, there are things which we say we know, or there are things we're not able to explain. There are things that we say we know, but we're not able to explain, many things like that. So if someone knows it and can explain, please explain. Everyone knows what is a mind? Yes. Hare Krishna. Is everyone there?
Yes, we are here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Anyone knows what is a mind?
I can try.
Yes, go for it.
So, like we say, the soul desires. So, how does it uh, sort of express the desire? Is through the mind. So, mind gets attached to things. That is how, like, if we watch a movie, we get attached. The mind gets attached because we are trying to have a good time. We're trying the visual. We're enjoying that movie or whatever. Similar, that is a material attachment. So, the attachment of the senses to fulfill the soul's desire occurs by the mind is what does it.
Very
Similarly,
good.
if you get attached to a spiritual aspect, that mind gets attached. It's again the soul's desire. You have to, and the intelligence decides what you get attached to.
Did you understand this, Kalpesh? Okay. I'll give you a simple understanding.
I would like to add one thing
Yes,
which we
yes,
have discussed many times again. So the spiritual and emotional aspects every individual has, those basically go around in the mind.
very good. Yeah,
But it's difficult to put in the definition, Prabhuji. That's why it took so much time to think about.
yeah, that's okay. So I'll give you a very simple answer for what is mind. Mind is something which likes and dislikes.
Yeah. I just found the definition.
So Kalpesh, if you see something and you feel that I like it, your mind is telling you that.
Mhm.
The mind is feeling that.
Mm.
Okay, what do you like to eat the most? I ask you a question, Kalpesh.
Watermelon.
Okay. So when you see watermelon, yeah, you can stop sharing your screen because there are a lot of yeah. So when you see watermelon, yeah, not everybody will like watermelon, but your mind likes watermelon because you have an experience eating that before, and it has done something good to you, and it tastes
Mm.
good, right?
Mm.
So based on your senses, that taste has been registered into your mind, and your mind said, yes, it is good, I like it. So when you say straight away, when you look at watermelon, yes, I like it, mind sees through the senses but rationalizes to likes and dislikes.
Mm.
That is the mind. That is why it is the reins. So the senses are connected to the mind. Mind is also known as the sixth sense. It is also known as the master of the senses. These are different names of mind.
But master of the senses means Rishikesh, right? And that's Krishna.
Yeah, that is um, controller of the sense. Sorry, my bad. So mind is the controller of the senses. Master of the senses is Rishikesh.
Mm. Mm.
Good point. So the mind controls the senses. So how does it control the senses? By telling them I like it or not like it. So if your senses, say the tongue, wants to eat something, if it is watermelon, as you said, so the mind will tell I like it, and your sense will eat it. But if there is something bitter, you know, your mind tells your sense no, based on the previous experience, it is Karela, Kadwa, don't eat. So you will not eat it. You'll say I don't like it. You understand?
Mm.
Understood what is mind?
Yeah.
And on top of it, there is intelligence. Intelligence different to mind. Now, anyone tells me what is intelligence?
Yeah, which helps to take the right
Right
decision.
and wrong. Yeah.
Intelligence tells you whether it is right or wrong.
Right
Right
or
or wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mind will tell you I like it. Okay. Say for example, rasgullas. Okay. Mind will say I like rasgullas. But if you start eating more than 5 rasgullas, intelligence will tell you too much sugar, it may harm you.
It is same as conscience also. Like we use the word
No, 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 no,
conscience.
no, 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 no. Conscious is different. No, intelligence is different. Intelligence is purely
Intelligence different.
buddhi.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
buddhi. So buddhi will tell you whether it is right or wrong. It analyzes. Buddhi analyzes and says yes or no. I mean says right or wrong.
Right.
Mind does not do that. Mind only likes it. अच्छा लग रहा है. इसलिए you have heard people saying मेरा मन किया मैं इतना सब खा गया, but after that they have problems. Intelligence is the one who rationalizes. मत कर, अंदर से आवाज आती है. And that intelligence is Krishna.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is called the master of the senses. That is provided by Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Do you understand this?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Do you understand this, Kalpesh?
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Kshitij and Rishi and Aditi.
Good. So at least we know what is a subtle body now.
Mm.
Okay? But subtle body, mind, intelligence, ego, even that is not I.
Yep.
Okay? Okay? So who's that I? So when we say
Soul.
I am a doctor. So doctor will has his own mind, will have his own intelligence. Okay? But fundamental identity is that I. He is a soul.
Hmm.
Understood this very clearly, all of that?
Hmm.
So whatever we have discussed today is functional identity and the fundamental identity.
Fundamental identity.
So do not get worked up by your functional identities. Okay?
Oh,
It's apara dharma. You have to do it. Just do it as a duty. Do not get worked up by that.
Hmm.
Focus on the fundamental identity. That is
so
what Krishna.
how do we focus on fundamental identity?
Yeah, that
And
is
That
and and what are the
that is the
duties?
next thing Krishna will tell us. Yeah. First, you
Just
understand what it
briefly,
is.
just briefly, very briefly.
Okay, very briefly. The purpose of the soul, it is said in the Shastra, is that Jiva Swarupen Nitya Krishna Das. That the real identity of the soul is to be the servant of Krishna or the Lord.
Hmm.
That is the real identity.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you serve Krishna slowly and steadily, you will be able to realize your fundamental identity.
Hmm.
And in Kali Yuga, Krishna's name is Krishna himself. So when you serve his name, you are serving Krishna. So that is why it is said that when you chant the names of Krishna, you are actually serving Krishna.
Okay.
And that is why it is said the process to self realization, the best process to self realization is chanting of the Mahamantra.
Yes.
Do we have to chant during the mala, or can we do on a peti as well? Same thing.
Chanting anyways is good. Namna makari bahuda nidasyarva shakti tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala. There is no time to remember the name or chant the names of Krishna.
So,
There is no fixed process, but it is good if you do it in the morning, early morning. The reason why it is done in early morning, because at that time the mind does not like liquor. The mind does not like meat. The mind does not like illicit sex. The mind does not like gambling at these times. At 4 o'clock, you wouldn't want to do all these things unless you wake up till 4 o'clock. It's a different thing altogether. The night's still not over for you, but the mind does not do any sorts of, because your memory is cleansed, your mind is fresh, it is open. Like how we say that when you wake up in the morning, you should always have fruit juices. It cleanses your bowel, isn't it? Yes or no?
Hmm.
Kalpesh, why
yes.
do you eat watermelon right after waking up in the morning? Because it cleans up your bowel, right? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes.
Correct?
Hmm.
So the first thing which goes into the stomach matters. If you wake up in the morning and fill it up with sugar, you'll have a very bad day. Yes? Yes or no? That is
Yes.
why, as per Ayurveda, also it is said that the first thing which goes into your stomach in the morning matters. Similarly, the first thing which goes into your mind that matters the most. Yes, Kalpesh.
So, so as soon as you wake up, do we do the morning course like washing, cleaning, and puja and all, and then do chanting, or
No,
just
first thing should be chanting. After your niyamit krama, that is your, nitya karma. After your going to
washroom
the
activities?
washroom
Yeah.
and brushing your teeth at least.
Is shower compulsory?
No, but if you can, nothing like it. It's good. Ideally, it is good that you, when you go to the washroom, you should take shower also after that. You shouldn't come
Okay.
out. Ideally, that is how the Vedic culture was. In fact, even today, if you see in our, small villages, people, when they go for toilet, they go straight away to shower. They take their bath. Many of the families I still remember as a child. I used to go to someone's houses. They would not come out for morning walk as well until they have a shower or they take a bath. So strict. Their mothers will not let even go out until they take a bath, which is a very nice practice. Yeah. Did I answer your question, Aditi?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that is chapter 2, and it does get a little more deeper when we go after 2.14. So these things should be crystal clear. Why Krishna is answering Arjun for identification? Because he's answering his question of what is his dharma. Because Arjun is confused between Kshatriya dharma and Kula dharma. If you only think about these two dharmas, then you'll be confused. The debate will go on and on. It will never end. But when the fundamentals are clear, when the fundamental identity is clear, then there is no problem. And that is Krishna. He is explaining that very well to Arjuna. So we'll continue reading. Now that you have understood what is a soul, now you'll understand what are the characteristics of a soul. So we'll do the characteristics of a soul next week. What are the characters? What is a soul? Okay? So you understood what are the senses, you understood what is a mind, you understood what is intelligence. Now we'll understand what is a soul. Okay?
Okay.
All right. If no other questions or comments, we'll end our discussion here. See you next week, same time.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna. Bye.